Welcome into this week's show, Hawk Talk on Melrose. I am Collin, joined today with Tyler. We are gearing up for the Iowa football season as we are officially 2 weeks away. We're recording this on Saturday, August 22nd. So Tyler, 2 weeks from now, maybe not quite yet at 7:24 in the morning, but here very soon, we will be driving to Iowa City to tailgate and to go to the first game. Man, I cannot wait, but cherish these few weeks because when the season does arrive, it goes by so quickly. But man, I can't wait, and we're getting really close. What's going on, man?
Good morning to you, sir, as well. Yeah, as you mentioned, we're recording this at a little before 7:30 in the morning. We and you got some busy schedules this weekend, so we thought we'd knock it out here early Saturday morning. But dude, it does. It's like doing this podcast early in the morning gives me that same vibe as we're gearing up to head to a tailgate right on a Saturday morning. So I'm excited. Obviously, talk football.
So what we're going to do today is buy, sell, or hold, and that will be the majority of this episode. And in the past, if longtime listeners, what we usually did was we would run through 40 different storylines, and we would do each one, buy, sell, or hold. And frankly, that just takes a while, and it might get a little boring for you guys. So what I did was I came up with about 45 different storylines, and then Tyler and I both chose our top 3 buys, our top 3 sells, and our top 3 holds. And then at the end, if there's a few that we just kind of want to discuss or talk about, ones that we didn't mention, we can do that. But that's how we're going to do it. But before we do that, I do want to bring up the passing offense a little bit more because the big storyline last week was Jeremy throwing 5 touchdowns, 205 yards, and it got me thinking. And I know it's been a big topic this offseason is, can the passing offense take that next step? And for me, there is literally zero excuses. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the chart. But you look at the last 5 years and you see 21, 22, 23 was Brian Ferentz. The completion percentage, 55% in 21, 55% in 22, 48% in 23. Passing yards per game, not great. 21 was 180 passing yards per game. 22 was 156. 2023 was god-awful at 118. Touchdowns to interceptions, 21 was 12 to 11. 22 was 7 to 7. 2023, we actually had more interceptions than touchdowns. And then you see the national ranked, pretty much towards the bottom. But then we get into Tim Lester, right? And obviously things have gotten so much better under Lester in pretty much every category. But the one category that it really hasn't has been the passing. Now, the completion percentage has improved really good. It's above 60%, which is the goal. We were at 62% in 24 and 62% in 25. However, the passing yards per game in 24, 131 passing yards per game. It's not going to cut it. In 25, 143. So not much better. Yards per attempt was 6.6 in 24, 6.5 in 25, which is a slightly better than under Brian. We were kind of in the 5s. A touchdown to interception, really not much better either. 10 touchdowns to 8 interceptions in 24, 12 touchdowns to 8 interceptions in 25. And we were ranked pretty much dead last in both years. And so I bring this up because, once again, things have gotten so much better under Tim, but we have now finished 123rd or worse 4 consecutive years in the passing offense. And yes, things have improved, like the completion percentage and things like that, but we are still bottom 10 in passing offense. And the last time that we had a quote unquote good year, which really wasn't even that good, was 2019. We averaged 228 passing yards, which is about 100 yards more than what we have been the last 2 years. 7.2 yards per attempt, 16 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. We went 10-3 that year. So it goes to show that if we can get the passing game going, genuinely we can have a pretty good year. But I just think there's no excuses here, Tyler. There's just no excuse. The first year you can use the excuse of it's a new offense, which I understand. The Shanahan offense, it takes a while to learn, all new players. Last year, you could even make the case it's still year 2. Lester's still trying to get some of his players in here. You're bringing in a quarterback that, yes, won a lot of games, very experienced, but once again, has to learn this whole new system. Well, this year, we're in year 3 now. We got quarterbacks that have been in the system now for over a year. We have legitimate production on the outside with our tight ends, with our wide receivers and Reese Vanderzee and some of the transfers that we got. The running game should help, right? Which the last 2 years, it should have helped regardless last 2 years, but it should help. Lester giving off the reins a little bit, not the quarterback's coach anymore. Billy is now the quarterback's coach. It's going to be more focused on that. You also bring in Tom Moore, the NFL longtime legend who coached for Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. So I just think that there's zero excuse for us to not be in the top 100 for passing, which isn't even like asking for a lot. There is no excuse for us not to get back to at least the 2019 numbers, which is about 230 passing yards per game.
Yeah.
I mean, I want more than that, but like that should be the benchmark. There is no reason why we can't get back to that. There is no reason why we can't get back to throwing anywhere from 16 to 20 passing touchdowns.
Right.
Like I said, I just don't think there is an excuse this year. Like at the end of the year, if our numbers, and you look at, like, once again, this graph, I know, Tyler, you can't see it, but when you rewatch the episode or if you go back and look at it, you can see this graph. Like if we add to this graph at the end of the year and it's still like 60% completion, but passing yards was 150 only and touchdowns was 13-9. Like, why did that happen again? Where's the excuse at? We actually have production on the outside. We got quarterbacks, yes, don't have experience, but have been in the system for a while. You got coaches on the staff that know how to coach the quarterback room.
Yep.
Wait, what's going on? Are we just cursed at this point that Iowa just can't have a decent passing game? Like literally, like I don't know what else would be the question. Like how else would you be able to answer it? So I don't know. I just want to bring that up right away because I just thought it was interesting. Like looking back at the numbers, like it really hasn't gotten like better at all. It's been about the same. Like if you didn't put Tim Lester's name for 24 and 25, you would just think Brian Ferentz was still the OC in this category. Obviously, everything else has gotten a lot better. I'm talking this category. So needs to get better, Tyler, because we got lucky this year getting Tony Diaz. We've gotten lucky getting some players, but like you start getting better in these categories, like it's going to be so much easier to go out and find wide receivers and good players, good skill position players.
That and just being able to retain those guys too, right?
Exactly.
Like you get a Tony Diaz and he doesn't get the ball this year. I mean, does he want out then? I mean, that's a very real thing in today's day and age. I know we say Iowa's culture doesn't really allow for things like that, but I mean, again, the wide receiver position is a very dependent position, right, on the quarterback, and so getting him the ball, and so that's a big thing too. No, I think I pretty much agree with everything that you said, Collin. I think you made up every point that I kind of thought of. You have Tim Lester year 3. You have a lot of the same coaches now coaching these players for multiple years. You have a lot of guys in the same system. Obviously, the quarterback, being one of them. If it can't happen this year, like you said, I just don't know when it's going to happen.
Yep.
And that I guess is the scary part, right, about this. Like if it doesn't go right, like you're like, man, like it's just never going to happen. Maybe that's a Kirk Ferentz thing then. That's like my only answer, I guess, to your question of like, when is it going to change?
Yep. Personnel wise, this is by far the best that we have had since 2020. And I know that's not saying a lot because it's been pretty bad, but still, I mean, it is the best since 2020. 2020, we had Emir Smith-Marset, Brandon Smith, Tyrone Tracy, Charlie Jones. Like we had a pretty good skill position players that year. This year, it's right up there. All right, let's get now into the stock market, buy, sell, or hold for Iowa football. And once again, we are going to do our top 3 buys, top 3 sells, top 3 holds instead of just going through each one. And so let's start first. Tyler, you can go first. Your top. Let's do the top 3 sells first. Let's start with kind of the negative first, and then we'll get into the buys.
My first top 3 sell, which again, this is going to contradict our conversation, I feel like, a little bit what we just had, but I have so the things that I don't think are going to happen, right? My top 3 sells. Iowa's 2026 quarterback play is better than the 2025 quarterback play, and let me give you a moment to like explain here. So I hope to God that we have more than 10 passing touchdowns, right? Like Mark had 10 passing touchdowns last year. I hope to God for this year's schedule, for what we want to accomplish, for what we talked about increasing, our ability to throw the football. Like, we're going to need more than 10 passing touchdowns. So, but with that being said, Mark also had 17 rushing touchdowns. He had a receiving and I know that's a receiving touchdown, but he had 27 total touchdowns. I don't know if we're going to have a quarterback that has more than 27 total touchdowns this year. Mark saved our ass countless times running the football on the ground. Go look at the Penn State game. I know we lost the game, but the Oregon game, that final drive here under 2 minutes, he scored that rushing touchdown. I mean, there was countless times where he saved us with his legs. And then the other part is just his experience. The guy has like the most starts in college football, like just the intangibles, his leadership. I mean, that's the part that's like invaluable to me. And I just don't know with the first year starter, whether it's Hank Brown or Jeremy Hiklinski, that they're gonna, maybe have the same sort of intangibles, right? That Mark had. All right, the second sell that I have is Iowa winning 2 of the 3 games during the Michigan, Ohio State, and Washington stretch. I think it's pretty far-fetched as a realistic Iowa fan to say right now, before the season even starts, before we've even played a snap, before we even know who the actual starting quarterback is, to say that we're going to go in and we're going to win, 2 games, whether that's at Michigan, home against Ohio State, or at Washington. I think there's a real possibility that we could steal one of those games. I just think if I'm a betting man, right, I just don't see that we're winning 2 of those games. And then the third one kind of relates to what I just talked about is Iowa. Another sell that I have, the last sell that I have, is Iowa making the college football playoffs. Well, if we don't win 2 of the 3 toughest games on our schedule, I just don't see us. The best case scenario is you get in at 9-3, but I just don't see it. I think you have to go at least 10-2, and you have to show that you can beat some of the harder teams on your schedule to make the college football playoffs. I think the committee would look at that. And so if I'm saying that Iowa is not going to win 2 of those 3 games during that tough stretch at the beginning of the year, I also don't see them making the college football playoff.
Yeah. They would have to win out and be 10-2 at that point. But I'm kind of with you. I just don't know, even at 10-2, unless like some of our wins towards the back end of the schedule like end up being like really good wins. Like let's say Illinois ends up being pretty good, or Minnesota.
And then the thing I failed to mention was just I always feel like there's a game in there that is just we're not gonna find a way to win. Whether that's that's a long list of wins that you're gonna have to rattle off after the first 3 Big Ten games, right?
Yeah.
So it's asking a lot.
Yep, exactly. All right, so my top 3 sells. Number 1, LJ Phillips has more rushing yards than Kamari Moulton. The reason why I had this one is just because obviously all the talk has been LJ Phillips, and I'm really excited for him. Don't get me wrong. But I still think Kamari's our guy. Like, he's still going to be the number 1 running back as long as he stays healthy. You look at last year, he had close to 1,000 yards rushing, and that's despite not playing in the Iowa State game. And I'm almost positive he barely played in that first game because I think he got hurt earlier on in the game.
He did. Yep.
So almost at 1,000 yards despite that. He's been starting now for a year experience-wise in the Big Ten. LJ Phillips has not yet. He did really good at South Dakota, but it's a next step. And so I still think Kamari Moulton's going to finish with more rushing yards. I think LJ Phillips is going to have a great year for us, but Kamari Moulton's still our man. Number 2, this one is the same as yours. Iowa makes the college football playoff. I'm selling that because I just don't see it happening either, because even at 10-2, we're still Iowa, right? And this is why I want to get to 24 teams, because it all comes down to like brand, right? It all comes down to different things like that. And I bet money on it that, let's just say hypothetically, we were 10-2 and let's say Alabama was 9-3. Guarantee you Alabama would get in before us, just because of the brand. And then number 3, running back gets over 1,000 yards this year. I'm going to sell that. And it's not because I don't think these running backs are good. I just think we have 4 running backs that are all going to play. And I just don't see one running back getting over 1,000 yards because it's going to be running back by committee, right? So I could see Kamari getting 800. I could see LJ Phillips getting 600, 700. I could see Nathan McNeil getting 300, right? Like something like that. Like if it was mainly Kamari and then a bunch of just like guys, then yeah, for sure. He's going to be our 1,000-yard rusher for sure this year. But running back by committee, I just don't see it happening. All right, let's do our top 3 holds.
Jeremy Hiklinski starts week 1. Just to wait and see, right? I think me and you right now, if we're a betting man, I'd say it's Jeremy. Based on what we've seen at Kids Day and his performance, I think it earns him the starting job week one. But they're keeping it very close to the vest, and I really think right now, I don't know. It could probably go either way. We'll have to see, how these guys perform these last couple weeks in practice, leading up to the first game. So that's where my first hold is. My second one is the offense averages at least 30 points per game. I really wanted to put this as a buy. Again, it's more of a wait and see. Like I want to say that it's going to happen. We averaged 29 last year, and I think it's very possible that we do that this year, get to 30 if our passing game finally takes that next step like I think we're wanting it to. But again, I'm waiting to see if it actually happens. So I'm going to hold there. And then the third one I have is Iowa. Their defense finishes as a top 15 scoring defense. I think, it's been like 8 years in a row that they've finished top 15 scoring defense. And, you might say, like, what gives you reason that they're not going to this year? Well, two things. Again, I mentioned the defensive line. I'm very nervous for our defensive line going into the season because there's just a lot of question marks there. A lot of unproven guys. We lost a lot of talent. That's number one. And then number two, I mean, the other thing is our schedule, right? Like we play Ohio State that can light it up, right? I mean, Michigan maybe isn't known for their offense, but I mean, they're a really good team. And then Washington too, like they have a really good offense. They've always had a great offense. So I think our schedule plays a factor in our defense, being a top 15 scoring defense as well. And then I threw in an honorable mention here. Iowa has three different players with 400 plus receiving yards. So the last time that Iowa even did that, they actually had four wide receivers with over 400 yards in 2019. The reason that I say that it's very possible that they have three, the quarterback has the weapons now. And again, I think we believe that this passing game and this offense is going to take the next step. I feel like this is the year to do it. I feel like I can count on a guy like DJ Vanami who did that last year. I think Reese Vanderzee has really come into his own, and I think he's a sure-handed, reliable guy. You kind of know what you're going to get with him. And then I think Tony Diaz hopefully is the real deal. I'm kind of banking on that, right?
Top three holds for me. Number three, or the first one, Iowa wins one of the three games against Michigan, Ohio State, Washington. I'm going to hold that because there is a very good possibility that we go 0-3 in those first three games. I hope to God that doesn't happen because that would really suck. I want to get at least one. That's the goal. But I don't really want to buy that quite yet because I want to see our quarterback play the first 3 weeks. And I want to see our D-line play in the first 3 weeks. And you're not going to get a whole lot of answers with the D-line play because who we're going up against. Now, yeah, Iowa State's decent, but like the other two games, not great. But I want to see some of that before I would buy any stock in Iowa winning one of those three games. A wide receiver gets over 600 yards. Very well possible. The last time that happened was 2019. Amir Smith-Marset had, I want to say 700 some yards. I could see it happening, but I could also not see it happening because we got to see it, I guess, to see our passing game get better. But then also, we do have a lot of players in our tight end room because this is specifically wide receivers. I do think DJ Vanami, Thomas Meyer, Estrenga, like they are going to be a very big focal point in the offense where they're going to be getting a lot of yards. And so that's going to limit some guys to get a lot of yards from the wide receivers. And so I'm going to hold that for now. And then Jeremy or Hank, regardless who's a starter, will throw for 3,000 yards. I'm holding that. Number one, that means they would have to average if we play 13 games this year. Hopefully we play more than 13 because that means we make the college football playoff. But play 13 games, that would be about 230 yards, which going back to what I said earlier, I think it's doable. It's manageable. We should have no excuse not to get to 230 yards per game. However, if we're truly in a quarterback competition where, one guy plays, another guy plays, it's going to limit the amount that you're out there. And if Hank or Jeremy start most of the year, but there's a game in there where they don't play as much because we're playing the other guy, then I think it's going to be a little difficult to get to 3,000 yards. So those are my top three holds. All right, now, top three buys.
I have my first buy is an Iowa wide receiver, not a tight end, leads the team in receiving. And I just think for two reasons, I think we finally have the wide receiver talent out there on the outside with Diaz, with Evan James, with Reese Vanderzee. I think more likely than not, it's probably, and if I'm going to pick an Iowa receiver to out receive a tight end, I think it's going to be a guy like Tony Diaz who has that high upside, or a guy like Reese Vanderzee who's just, you kind of know what you're going to get with him, and he's very reliable. The other part is, I think teams they know what DJ Venami can do at this point, right? Like, I think it's no secret that they're going to try to focus on stopping him, and make somebody else that's kind of unproven beat you. But and so that gives our wide receivers a lot more opportunity to do that. The second one I have is the defensive tackle position becomes Iowa's biggest weakness. I just, I was debating, it was either between this or just kind of like our special teams, kind of like what we had talked about. I felt like last year our defensive line wasn't great, especially defensive tackle, like being able to stop the run, right? Consistently. I mean, you look at that Oregon game, I think they rushed for, like we talked about, like 7 or 8 yards a carry against us. And we're losing guys like Aaron Graves and other defensive tackles that were there before him, before these guys. And I feel like it's a lot of unproven guys coming back, and we just don't know what we're going to get. I mean, Kirk had already talked about, just in general, the defensive line, like there's going to be a lot of guys playing, and I feel like we don't know yet. And like you said, maybe it's going to take a few weeks to figure out early on in the season, but that has me pretty nervous, and I think that's going to be our weakest point if we look back in the season. And then number 3, I have Iowa retakes the Cy Hawk Trophy. I believe this is the year we're going to do it. I said that on like our one of our episodes when we talked about the season schedule, how it's just a must win for me. You have no excuse if you're the Iowa Hawkeyes not to take this trophy back, right? You're in Kinnick Stadium. It's a night game. This is a brand new Iowa State team, brand new roster, brand new coaching staff. That is, I know it's a projection, but they're not projected to do very well this season. The trophy's coming back home. I don't think it's a question of whether or not we win. I think it's a question of it's a question of how much we win by. So I have us reclaiming the Cy Hawk Trophy once again.
My top 3 buys. First one, Cam Buffington is the breakout player on defense. I truly believe at the end of the year, we're going to look back and be like, holy shit, that guy is good. He's going to be the next really good linebacker for us. And then going into next year, right? Because the big talk is 2027 season for how young and inexperienced we are this year. As long as guys don't transfer out, we're going to be bringing back a lot of production next year. And that's the reason why a lot of people think 27 could be our year to like finally make the playoffs. Yeah. And he's going to be one of those guys that like everybody talks about, like going into next year. Cam Buffington, like he's coming back, like that guy, like that linebacker. He's really freaking good. Passing offense finally cracks top 100 in passing. We've been talking about it all episode long. Last year, in order to finish in the top 100, you got to average that number, about 230 yards per game. And so I really think that is doable. That is manageable with the players that we have. So let's get her done this year. Let's crack the top 100. Let's not be 130th like we've been the last 4 or 5 years. Jeremy or Hank have 20 passing touchdowns this year. The reason why I'm buying this, obviously the last few years, it hasn't even come close to that. But you could argue last year, a lot of that had to do with Mark just running the football inside the 5, which that was fine. Like it worked. So keep doing it. Or Brendan Sullivan in 24. Well, this year, I think we're going to be utilizing the passing game a little bit more, where I think it's very, very manageable and doable to get to 20 passing touchdowns this year. I think you go back to, I don't know what year it was. Nate Stanley had 26 or 27 one of the years. I don't think we're going to get that high. It'd be awesome, but I think we get to 20. And then honorable mention here, LJ Phillips has the most rushing touchdowns out of all running backs. Now you go back to one of my cells, I had Kamari having more Kamari having more yards than him. This one, though, I do think he is going to have the most rushing touchdowns, because when we get inside the 5, he's kind of that bigger type running back, physical type running back. He's going to be used a lot in goal line situations. And I just think at the end of the day, that's going to result in more rushing touchdowns for him. And so I'm going to buy that. All right. So that is it. Those are our top 3 buys, top 3 sells, top 3 holds. I'm also going to lay out, Tyler, 4 stock risers, 4 guys that I think we haven't really talked a whole lot about, but I think could end up being really good for us at the end of the year and then going into 2027, just similar to Cam Buffington. Although I didn't put him on this list because I think a lot of people kind of already know about him and kind of know his potential. So for me, the two guys on offense is Evan James, because everybody talks about Reese Vanderzee, everybody talks about Tony Diaz and DJ Vanami and Dane Howard. And people, I think, kind of forget about Evan James. And I think he, out of all the wide receivers, had the best day on Saturday. Yep. I think he's better than what people think. And Brad Heinrichs of the Swarm was at one of the practices this last week, and he said the same thing. I think we're kind of forgetting about this dude. He's going to be really good for us. Thomas Meyer, the other tight end. Once again, the all talk is DJ Vanami, but I think Thomas Meyer has a lot of potential. You started seeing that towards the end of last year. And then on defense, for me, Drew Campbell. And if he can just be decent or pretty good for us, that is huge, because we need as many bodies, as many good players as possible on the defensive line where we think might be a little bit of a weakness. We've been hearing a lot of good things about him leading into Kids Day, and then you see him at Kids Day and he looks pretty dang good. And so if he can keep getting better and maintaining that, that's huge for us. And then Anthony Hawkins, the safety, I think he is going to be a pretty solid player for us. Did really good at Villanova as a freshman. He's 6'3". He's tall. He's very athletic, and he was covering, or he was essentially playing Tyler Brown's position on Saturday at Kids Day because Tyler Brown was hurt, and he looked pretty good out there. And he had a nice pass breakup against Dane Howard, and I think he can be decent for us. And so those are my 4 stock risers going into the year. I'm not going to do guys going down because I don't want to be negative, and I don't wish that upon anybody. So we are doing just stock risers for that. So before we end this, we're going to do real quick. I have a few leftover storylines I just want to run through of buy, sell, or hold. So the first one, quarterback competition lasts the first few weeks where both guys kind of play back and forth. Buy, sell, or hold on that.
That's tough, because it's like, what do I think and what do I want? I'm going to hold. I think it's a very real possibility. If Kirk's talking about it, I don't think he's lying about it, but I don't want that to happen. So I'm going to hold.
I'm going to buy that because I do think both guys are going to play. Okay. I really do. Like, especially that first game, they're going to give both guys a chance. Hank Brown starts at least one game this season.
I would buy that. I think whether it's, going with if Jeremy is like struggling, if he was the presumed starter, if he's struggling, Hank, maybe finds a way to start the next game, or due to injury, which, knock on wood, but that's been a consistent theme with the Iowa quarterbacks, it seems, as of late. So I do think he probably will end up starting a game.
Yeah, I have that as a buy as well. Jeremy's 5 touchdown Kids Day performance was a real preview, not just practice hype.
As much as I want to buy it, I'm going to hold, because, again, it's practice, and this is not a real game. These scrimmages and things. A lot of it is scripted and things like that. So I'm going to hold.
Yeah, as much as I want to buy that,
it's too. 5 touchdowns too. It's like that's a lot. I mean, that's great. I love it. It gets everybody talking. But I gotta be realistic here too.
Tony Diaz leads the wide receivers in receiving.
This is where I'm going to buy it. I think it comes down to him or Reese, but his potential is off the charts. I mean, I know that sounds kind of crazy to say for an Iowa wide receiver, but I do believe he has the ability to lead the team in receiving this year. I really do.
Yeah, that one's tough. I'm going to just say sell, just because I think maybe Reese Vanderzee will end up being the guy. I mean, he has like the most proven production out of everyone. I mean, we still have yet to see Tony Diaz play in the Big Ten and going up against Big Ten corners. We've been burned
Reese before. Right?
Yeah, we've seen Reese before already, and he can do it.
Fair.
All right, Zach Lutmar starts at cash.
Hold. I think a lot of those guys are interchangeable, right? With the safety position and cash position. Obviously Zach played there last year, but I think what we've been hearing and seeing is Jacob Wallace maybe playing the cash position this year, and I feel like he could be really, really a good fit in that position. So I'm gonna hold, because I don't know where they're gonna slot everybody yet, but I think it could happen.
I'm going to say hold as well, because it all depends on Tyler Brown's injury status. Because if Tyler Brown's ready to go, he's going to play strong. And I think Anthony Hawkins will play free, and then Zach Lutmar will play cash. And I think that would be the best overall thing, because I think Lutmar just at cash, he can be all over the field. But if we have some injuries in the safety position, like Tyler Brown's still kind of hurt, kind of dinged up, then I think Anthony Hawkins will play strong, Lutmar will play free, and then you have Jacob Wallace at cash. And then last, real quick here, Kirk Ferentz returns for the 2027 season.
I'm going to buy it. I think in the past, I would hold for sure.
Yep.
But and he always talks about it being year to year, and so I get it. Any year he could change his mind in an instance. But I just think he still, everything you hear from him, he wants to be the head coach for Iowa, and I don't see that ending anytime soon.
Yep, I agree. And just the fact that, once again, 2027 could be the year for us if a lot of these guys come back. Like our production, our experience from this year going into next year, it could be the year. So why hang it up 1 year short?
Yeah.
So and he's still very healthy. He looks healthy. He looks like a young 70-year-old, right? So
yeah,
for sure. All right, well, that will do it for this episode. Thank you guys all for listening. We'll be back next week with Colby going over season predictions and bold predictions. We are so close. All right, you guys have a good rest of your week, and go Hawks.